Today we are going to start working on how to take a MAP test. We're going to use the practice MAP site. The link your teacher gave you will take you to this site right here. And what I need you to do is I want you to click on this link right here. And then you're going to click on where it says Online Tools Training. And then we are going to click on English Language Arts Practice Items. And we are in 6th grade, so we're going to click 6th grade. The username and password is right here, so you're just going to copy that into the sections below. So, A6 Prac 2 Test 4321 and sign in. So a lot of this is going to take you through things I'm already going to explain to you, but the MAP test will want to double check that everything on your computer is working first. So it may ask you to do a few things. So I click continue and then practice test. And the first things it wants you to test out is to make sure that you can hear exactly what it's saying. So you need to click this button that says play audio. And then if you heard the voice, which if you should hear the voice if you hear my voice, you're going to click the sound is working. This screen just wants to make sure that you can see all 3 circles. Okay. That way that all the lighting on your computer is okay. So that's all they're checking for there. If you can see all 3 circles, you're going to click next. A lot of this is going to give you directions too that I'm going to give you here. So if you want to skip over a lot of this, just continue to click next until you get to the actual test. All right, and then it will say begin the test. All right. So this is what your MAP test looks like. It has the split screen format that we've been practicing in. So if you notice, your story is right over here, and then all of your questions and your answers are here. I'm going to start up in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to move my way across the top and explain what all of these buttons are, and then we'll go down to the bottom, and I'll explain what all the buttons on the bottom do. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is there's a little triangle here next to where it says question 1. If you click that, it tells you that we're going to do 4 readings. And if you hover over them, it highlights the questions that are going to be covering those readings. Okay, so, and then if you want to, you can come down here and you can actually skip to whatever questions you want. So, we can click on question 2 and it skips us to question 2. All right, this next button right here is the pointer button. It's already on pointer right now, so you can see it's the same symbol. All right. So that will be very important in a second when we start clicking on all the other buttons, right? The next button over is the cross-off button. It's kind of cool. So remember on your old paper test, we used to tell you that you'll come over to the side and you'll make an X if you don't think that that's the right answer, okay? This one's neat because you click on the X portion, cross-off portion, and then you can come over and you can, when you're reading these answers, you're like, whoa, that one's ridiculous. Fish adapt to their environments and in some cases can lose certain abilities. Like that's not, I mean, that's in the story, but that's not what the whole story is about, and it's asking me to summarize. So I can actually cross that off. So it's not distracting me anymore. If you ever run into the situation where you're like, I really wanted that answer on there, then you can always click it again and it disappears. Okay, but since my cursor is now, you see how it just turned into the pencil with the X on it, I need to get it back to my regular cursor. This is when that pointer button is very important. So I have to click it again to turn it back into the pointer button. All right, this next one is the highlighter. Okay, so just like in class, how we have you highlight or underline and annotate things, you can use this highlighter to highlight anything that's important. So if I came over here to my question and I said, which statement best summarizes the central idea of the text, I'd be like, okay, it wants me to best summarize, so I might highlight that, and it wants me to do the central idea of the text. Okay, so I'm like, okay, those are my 2 things I need to focus on when I'm reading. And then I may come over here and I'm reading a little bit. And then I see something like, uh, so not much happens or expected. So imagine how amazing it is, how amazed its residents were when live fish rained down on them from a dark gray cloud one afternoon. So I'm like, oh, that's really important. Okay. So I can highlight things. One of the really cool things about this test is anything you highlight over in this area where the story is stays with it. So even though the question may change, your highlighting doesn't. So I'm going to go back to my pointer. And so if I click back to the back button, or I come up here to my little triangle and I go back to question 1, the highlighting stays with the story, but then the question obviously doesn't have any highlighting because we haven't highlighted anything there yet. Okay, but be careful if you switch things around on your question portion, it does get rid of that. So whereas before I had highlighted best summarized and central idea of the text, that's now gone. So it's only your story that saves that, right? The next button on here is the sticky note button. Okay, so if I click new sticky note, I can come down here and click on whatever I want and it'll create a sticky note for it. So if I wanted to come here and I wanted to say, put a sticky note right here at the beginning of this and say, annotate like, wow, this story will tell me about raining fish. Okay, so my brain's kind of thinking that it's going to tell me about how fish rain down. All right. So if this side of your screen gets really full of sticky notes, one of the other neat features is you can actually hide the sticky notes. And then you can show them again when you want to. And see how they have the little number on here? If I double click on it, it actually pulls up my sticky note again. Okay? And then I can go back and I can hide them again, because sometimes that's distracting to us. The next feature is the magnifier. Some of you might not need this, but let's say you need to see something and you're just having a rough eyesight day. You can click on this and it makes it bigger so that it's a little easier to read things. Some of you that forget your glasses at home might use this because you can't read the screen as well as you would like to. So if you forget your glasses, this would be a great tool for you. And then I could just turn it off. Another neat tool that they provide for you is what's called a line guide. So if I click on the line guide, there's this weird little box with the little lines in it. And if I drag it down, it creates a blue line. So if I'm reading and I know I have problem tracking what I'm reading, I can use this blue line to track what I'm reading so I don't reread things multiple times unless I absolutely have to. Okay, and I can make that go away by clicking line guide again, and then the line disappears. Another tool that I would encourage you to use if you're at all confused is the question mark. If I click on the what's this button, okay, it turns my cursor, my little pointer guy, and I can click on anything with a little question mark by it, okay, and it will give me an answer to what it is. So, oh, what's this testing tool? It's a line guide. And then I can read about it and it explains to me how I can use this. Okay. So now we've gone all the way across the top. Let's go down to the bottom. Review and end our test. You obviously wouldn't want to review and end your test unless you were done with your test. If for any reason you need to pause your test because you have to go use the restroom or something during testing, you click this pause button and it will pause your test without logging you out for 20 minutes. If for some reason it takes you longer than 20 minutes to go to the restroom, it logs you out of your test and you have to go back through and enter it again. So anything you do, make sure you do it under this 20-minute period. You shouldn't have to do this much because we don't really allow you to go to the restroom during MAP testing unless it's an absolute emergency. But this tool is there for those of you who have emergencies and have to just run to the restroom real fast. Once you're done, you will click the resume button and your test will pop back up. Another tool down here is the flag button. And this one's really cool. So like, let's say I'm really confused on summarizing. I've spent a good chunk of my time on this and I'm just going to move. I just really want to move on, but I need to remember to come back to this one later. If I click the flag button, it turns it yellow and it says that it's flagged. And if we come back up here to this little upside down triangle again, notice how the question number 2 is flagged. That's my reminder. Oh, I need to go back and finish that question. Okay, so before you get to the end of your test, you can double check to make sure you haven't flagged anything. Okay, if you get done with it, you can click this button again, and it's no longer flagged. Right? And of course, there's always the next and back button, which will take you to the next question or take you back. All right? I would encourage you to go through and try out some of these questions, play with the tools and get comfortable with them. The more comfortable you are with them now, the easier your MAP testing will be. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask your teacher.